Tonight on CFTK-TV News, the latest on the BC wildfire situation, an update on the Coastal GasLink and Cedar Link projects, and part 2 of our coverage of Prince Rupert's Seafest.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Hello, and thanks for joining us on this Tuesday, June 17th, 2025. I'm Jaylene Matthews. We begin tonight with our news that's local to the Northwest. Last night's Kitimat Council meeting featured an update on Coastal GasLink and Cedar LNG. CFTK-TV's Kel Maslin reports.
At the start of the latest District of Kitimat Council meeting that took place last night, an update on the Coastal GasLink and Cedar Link projects were given in a presentation to the Council. The main presenter of the update was Tamara Trevelyan, the Community Relations Project Advisor for TC Energy, and after explaining a little bit about their project history over the past couple of years, she then talked about how the CGL project could assist in improving the environment.
As you know, liquid natural gas, or LNG, is one of the world's fastest growing major energy sources, and global demand is projected to rise significantly over the next 20 years. It's estimated natural gas exports facilitated by Coastal GasLink could reduce annual global CO2 emissions by 60 to 90 million tons, which equates to more than the total annual emissions of BC and roughly 10% of Canada's annual emissions. This provides a unique opportunity for British Columbians to help replace carbon-emitting fuels such as coal with cleaner sources of energy, contributing to the global effort to mitigate greenhouse gas emissions and reduce air pollution.
The work along the project route last year mostly entailed cleaning up the areas where construction was done and restoring the local land as best as they possibly could by implementing measures like erosion and sediment control. The next part of the plan in that project is to slowly introduce gas to the LNG Canada facility. Next up in the presentation was Cedar Link, which will let Coastal GasLink deliver natural gas to Cedar LNG.
The Cedar project will consist of the Cedar Link connector, the LNG Link meter station, and the Mount Bracey compressor station, and it will be constructed and operated by Coastal GasLink, which is a TC Energy subsidiary. And it's by leveraging the existing Coastal GasLink infrastructure to enable incremental additional capacity for Cedar, and then we will also continue Coastal GasLink's extraordinary legacy of creating lasting benefits.
Construction for this project is expected to begin sometime this summer, possibly even as early as June 27th, although without an indication as to when it might be completed. For CFTK-TV News, I'm Kel Maslin.
BC Conservative leader and MLA for Nechako Lakes John Rustad says his party is still deciding whether to contact the RCMP about a group of legislators who split from the party, who he claims are blackmailing his members and staff. Rustad says one unnamed staffer with the former Conservatives called multiple individuals in order to explicitly blackmail them. Rustad says in a letter that they are threatening people, that they will release materials, including secret phone recordings and texts, if they do not take new jobs or contracts with the new party. He doesn't name the former Conservatives, but Dallas Brody, who was ejected from the caucus in March, says in a statement that the letter consists of wild lies and baseless, false, and defamatory accusations about her new One BC party. And the Kitimat General Hospital Foundation has announced arrival and implementation of a wireless TOCO transducer in the maternity department, and there will be more nurses available to administer them. The foundation says that 2 new registered nurses recently completed their training in maternity care, which they say means more babies will be able to be delivered safely and comfortably in Kitimat, keeping essential healthcare services closer to home. Amid frequent emergency room closures in 2023, Kitimat City Council endorsed a resolution to work with the Haisla Nation, the Kitimat Health Advocacy Group, and Northern Health Authority and local industry to develop options and a budget for attraction and retention of new healthcare professionals. The new machine, the TOCO transducer, they say is a state-of-the-art equipment that enhances patient care by allowing for continuous non-invasive monitoring of uterine contractions with increased comfort and mobility for expectant mothers. The wireless technology reduces clutter and enhances safety during labor, enabling more efficient and effective monitoring by medical staff. Money for the machine was raised through the Smile Cookie campaign with the local Tim Hortons and LNG Canada, as well as a gala donation from Rio Tinto. And from the heart of the harbor, it was a weekend full of fun and excitements at CFest 2025. Helen Asante brings us a part 2 with more highlights.
I'm here at the CFest Festival in Prince Rupert, the city's most beloved summer tradition that brings together families, project culture, and tradition. While on the surface of fun, the festival supports local businesses and tourism.
I'm set up in this spot 25 years, right? The event is very fun and a lot of people and people in Prince Rupert, they're really happy to see me. I'm doing good here every year. Doesn't matter rain or sunny, yeah.
We've been in Rupert for the past 10 years. This is my 3rd year and it's been going good.
Non-stop action with food and music. Crowds gathered to enjoy live band, watch the colorful parades roll through the town, cheers on the 3-on-3 basketball, street hockey, and the car smashing demo for charity. This festival was indeed a weekend of fun. I'm wrapping up CFest 2025 with a new friend. Meet Staffy.
Staffy. Staffy, hi Staffy. This is Helen Asante, CFTK-TV.
Coming up next, more on the Jeep that plunged into the Squamish River. The BC Wildfire Service says the largest blaze still burning in BC, the Pocket Knife Creek wildfire, is now classified as being held thanks to about 100 millimeters of rain. It is one of about 100 blazes actively burning across the province. CTV's Yasmin Gandam has an update from the BC Wildfire Service.
Most of Squamish can now rest easy after cooler temperatures this weekend allowed crews to decrease fire behavior.
And all wildfire perimeters are being held. So that's excellent news for us.
Progress means evacuation alerts for homes close to the fire have been lifted, with the exception of those along Dryden Road East. 2 properties have now been upgraded to evacuation orders because of dangerous trees and unstable slopes from the wildfire.
The trees themselves and the debris that they've disturbed roll down towards the affected properties. So that's the type of thing that we're concerned about here.
Alice Lake Provincial Park is expected to reopen on Tuesday with restrictions. The South Beach area remains closed to vehicles. Firefighters are marking success in opposite corners of the province after more favorable weather in northeastern BC. A severe thunderstorm warning is now in place for the area, which crews say could be even more good news for the firefight.
With that is coming some increases in relative humidity, which is going to decrease fire behavior still moving forward, as well as the prediction for some scattered rainfall.
Crews are taking advantage of the cool weather by prioritizing areas in and around homes, as the fire is still active underground.
The major concern right now is just the drought codes are still quite high, and with that means that this wildfire is definitely not out.
Kiskatinaw is one of 3 wildfires of note in BC. Further north, evacuation alerts have now been lifted for the Pocket Knife Creek fire, and the Summit Lake fire west of Fort Nelson has now grown more than 80,000 hectares.
As things return to a warming and drying trend in the coming weeks and months to follow as we head into the summertime, definitely some risk still there for fire activity to increase and things to pick up.
Yasmin Gandam, CTV News, Vancouver.
More details now about the vehicle carrying 4 people that plunged into the Squamish River, from which only 3 people have been found. CTV's Ben Milger reports.
This is the area where a Jeep SUV carrying 4 men veered off the road and into the Squamish River. It happened just after midnight on Saturday. 3 of the men managed to get out and scramble to shore, but 24-year-old Surrey resident Navdeep Singh Sidhu is still missing, and RCMP don't believe he made it out of the submerged Jeep.
Search and rescue teams from Squamish and the North Shore have done extensive aerial and ground patrols to try to locate the vehicle. Those patrols have not been successful to date.
The men had apparently left their campsite in search of firewood along this remote stretch of gravel road about 10 kilometers up the Squamish Valley. Sidhu's cousin says he is a newcomer to Canada and had been working in construction.
Hardworking person who came here for a better life in Canada, but destiny had something else in mind.
After consulting with the RCMP dive team, local Mounties say the river is simply too high and visibility too low to continue recovery efforts at this time. They say the search will resume when conditions improve.
There's a spring flow coming down, and essentially what that means is the water levels are very high, and the flow is very fast right now.
With each passing day Sidhu remains unaccounted for, his family prepares itself for the worst possible outcome. According to his cousin, Sidhu is a newlywed and had hoped to one day bring his parents to Canada.
We have taken the loans to send this kid to Canada to have a better life for him and eventually bring them here.
It could be weeks or months until river conditions improve, and there is no timeline for when the search will resume. Ben Milger, CTV News, Squamish Valley.
Turning to the weather, the sun rose at 4:57 a.m. this morning in the northwest and sets at 10:12 p.m. tonight. Tonight on the north coast, expect conditions to be mainly cloudy with a 60% chance of showers and a low of 10 degrees. Over the next few days on the north coast, expect clouds and some showers, then sunshine Friday and Saturday before the clouds come back on Sunday. Daily highs between 13 and 18 degrees, overnight lows between 9 and 11 degrees. Tonight in the Terrace Kitimat area, expect showers and a low of 9 degrees. Over the next few days in the Terrace Kitimat area, expect some more showers during the week, then warming up with sunshine Friday and staying nice into the weekend. Daily highs from 14 warming up to 27, overnight lows between 6 and 12 degrees. Tonight in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, it's looking mainly cloudy with a 70% chance of showers, a risk of a thunderstorm, and a low of 7 degrees. Over the next few days in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, expect a chance of showers tomorrow, then a mix of sun and clouds for the rest of the week and getting into the weekend. Daily highs between 17 and 24 degrees, overnight lows between 7 and 8 degrees. Checking your highways around the northwest now. On Highway 16, there's construction in Prince Rupert with a detour in effect. Also bridge maintenance, road sweeping, mowing, and utility work going on. On Highway 37, watch for bridge construction and frost heaves, as well as a materials spill. Highway 37A, there's a section with falling rocks, as well as road maintenance going on. On the Niska Highway, there's bridge maintenance, and this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region from the view of the province's highway cams. Still to come, today's update on the G7 summit. Some hopeful news around the trade war from none other than President Donald Trump out of the G7 summit. CTV's Mike Lecouteur explains.
President Donald Trump's positivity was on full display, basking in the Kananaskis sunshine. It was also on his lapel, where he sported a Canada-U.S. pin while meeting Prime Minister Mark Carney.
Our primary focus will be trade and trade with Canada, and I'm sure we can work something out. Yeah.
Hours later, the Canadian side said the two men agreed on a timeline to end the trade dispute. In a statement, Mark Carney's office said the two leaders agreed to pursue negotiations toward a deal within the coming 30 days. But the leaders seemingly proposing different ways of getting there.
I've always been a tariff. It's simple, it's easy, it's precise, and it just goes very quickly. And I think Mark has a more complex idea, but also very good.
The meeting lasted more than an hour, and the minister responsible for Canada-U.S. trade said talks are accelerating.
That's why we reconvened after the meeting with the president and the prime minister, and we agreed to reconvene before the end of this week again.
Trump also used this summit to sign a proclamation implementing the U.S.-UK trade deal, which had already been negotiated, reassuring reporters this would protect Brits from future tariffs.
The UK is very well protected. You know why? Because I like them, that's why.
That type of unity is exactly what Carney called for as he kicked off this summit in the heart of the Rockies, even as the escalation of violence in the Middle East casts a shadow over these talks.
We're gathering at one of those turning points in history. I think we all recognize that turning point where the world looks to this table for leadership.
But that table will be missing its biggest player. According to the White House, U.S. President Donald Trump is leaving the G7 early, quote, because of what is going on in the Middle East.
Despite President Trump's early departure, the summit continued today with a focus on defense and security, especially Ukraine.
With a heavy heart, Ukraine's president came to Kananaskis, hoping for more support from G7 leaders. But the latest attack cast a shadow over his visit.
Our families had a very difficult night. It's one of the biggest attacks from the very beginning of this war. 440 Shaheeds, Iranian drones, and 32 missiles.
Inviting Volodymyr Zelensky was part of a show of support from world leaders gathered here as the war with Russia rages on. And Canada has gone one step further, announcing today military aid and sanctions.
We are providing additional military assistance, drones, helicopters, broader munitions, over $2 billion worth of assistance directly to Ukraine.
And there's a $2.3 billion loan to help Ukraine rebuild its infrastructure. Canada is also slapping sanctions on 40 Russian entities, a number of individuals, and over 200 vessels in its shadow fleet. The United Kingdom also announced similar sanctions on 20 ships, including oil tankers. But the immediate need in Ukraine is that military might.
It's important for our soldiers to be strong at the battlefield, to stay strong out until Russia will be ready for the peace negotiations.
The Prime Minister's office confirms the $2 billion in military aid is helping Canada to reach its NATO spending target. And that earned Carney praise from the head of the alliance.
The fact that you decided to bring Canada to the 2% spending when it comes to NATO this year is really fantastic.
More difficult conversations could come for Carney when he meets with his Indian counterpart later today. Canada is trying to rebuild that relationship, while an RCMP investigation has connected the Modi government to homicides and extortions in this country. It's a claim the Indian government has refuted.
Turning to the markets now, Canada's main stock index closed down despite strength in the energy sector, while U.S. markets also moved lower. The Canadian dollar dropped 1/4 cent. The price of gold fell $10.40. Oil rose $3.02. Natural gas was up 10 cents. Aluminum gained $23.50. In Toronto, the TSX dropped 27 points. The Venture Index rose by almost 3 points. In New York, the Nasdaq was down 180 points and the Dow Jones dropped 299 points. Still ahead, a new Indigenous food security program in BC. As the G7 is underway here in Western Canada, over in Eastern Canada, a different sort of leaders' meetings have been going on. CTV's Sarah Plowman reports.
Outside the Massachusetts State House, the maple leaf flies next to the stars and stripes. Inside, Northeast U.S. governors and Eastern Canadian premiers formed a team against tariffs with a message for the top.
We have to get a deal.
Massachusetts governor called the meeting to talk trade, energy, and tourism as the Northeast U.S. sees fewer Canadians visit.
Our tourism numbers, for example, are down anywhere between 20% and 60% in all of our states.
States like Maine are trying to draw Canadians back. For that governor, it's not just about the economy, but relationships.
And Canadians do not deserve the expressions of disrespect that they're receiving.
As these U.S. leaders make the point to Canadians they're open for business, Ontario's premier shared his own message in American media.
We love the U.S. I love the U.S. Canadians love Americans. There's one person that is causing this issue, and that's President Trump.
While Ford says governors have a big say, Premier Houston says there are things this group can't address.
Like there's just certain things that are outside of our control. We can't control what people tweet in the middle of the night. But there are things that are within our control, and that's where we should work together.
When asked whether premiers would encourage Canadians to travel to the U.S., they were still quick to promote travel within Canada.
I can't tell Canadians to come visit the U.S. right now. I'm going to tell them to go and see my neighbors in Nova Scotia. I'm going to tell them to spend some time at home.
And expect this meeting to lead to another. Premier Doug Ford has already said he plans to invite the governors to Ontario to talk about energy, minerals, an invitation he plans to extend to all U.S. governors. Sarah Plowman, CTV News, Boston.
A revitalization project in BC is promoting Indigenous food security through agriculture. Here's CTV's Andy Garland.
Anything that isn't the main plant can go.
Coetson Secondary students get a hands-on tutorial on how to pull weeds at this unique nursery in the Cowichan Estuary.
Cleaning it up, and we're learning about what Indigenous plants are.
Yeah, these plants filter the water before it gets in the bay. It's very polluted in there.
It's not your typical nursery. It's a revitalization project, bringing back native plants and Indigenous agriculture.
We want a little bit of everything that was in the history books to come back and have its opportunity to share its time with us.
The revitalization project also hopes to squash any perceptions that people living here pre-colonially were nothing more than hunter-gatherers.
We're agriculturalists as well. We specifically raised certain food plants in certain regions so we could eat.
The 170-acre nursery aims to improve access to those traditional foods and medicines.
Camas was our potato. The lilies provided us with the rice, nodding onion flavoring, and antacid medicine.
So this one goes.
The UBC Indigenous Ecology Lab, who are helping with the project, say the more than 20,000 native plants will not only restore coastal habitats and improve food security, they'll also be used as an educational tool as well, creating intergenerational knowledge.
We have all of the students here today. That really bringing the next generation forward to be able to care for these spaces is the most important thing.
We didn't have schools, so the family elders, so grandma and great-grandma would have been our knowledge keepers, and then they would have taken the role of teacher.
Phase 2 of planting this vast nursery begins this fall. Andy Garland, CTV News, Cowichan Tribes.
That's our news for now. Thanks for watching.